Hello and welcome back to everybody on the Wrestling and it's another edition of AEW Dynamite Out of 10, and it's a big episode of Dynamite as we're continuing the major hype for Blood and Guts next week. Hangman Page team with Eddie Kingston and Hook to contest the Ops. So there was a lot on the show, and we started things off with Tony Schiavone, who was trying to announce the introduction of a new national championship, but Samoa Joe interrupted with the Ops. He threatened the announcer until security intervenes. And Hangman made the save. Eddie Kingston and Hook ran down to even the odds. The Handsome Devil challenged Joe, Shibata and Hobbs to put the World Trios Championship on the line tonight, and the Samoan submission machine accepted. AEW usually starts with action, but this was well paced enough to keep the usual Dynamite speed. Wrestlers flying down the ramp to make the save. It would have got better if Kingston got some mic time himself, but AEW is clearly testing Hook in these spots to deliver. He put in a short, focused promo. Putting the World Trios Championships on the line is a great way to heighten the drama for the main event match, and it suddenly feels more likely the Ops could lose the gold. And we then moved on to the men's Blood and Guts advantage match number 1, Claudio Castagnoli versus Orange Cassidy. And the Orange bought the fight. He was simply but Claudio was simply too powerful for freshly squeezed, seeing the win with a European uppercut. The Swiss Superman is still one of the best match wrestlers in the business. He was an incredible base for Cassidy throughout this match, catching Cassidy from wherever he flew. It was obvious these men have history, but this was the best work they've done together, maximising their minutes with serious highlight spots and steady pace, keeping the crowd fully invested. The Death Riders will likely win the advantage with the heels in control early, so Claudio needed the win. It was nice to see the Swiss Superman picking up the win against one of AEW's best. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. As we then moved on to the women's tag team tournament, the Babes of Wrath versus Mercedes Moné and Athena, and they looked like a well-oiled machine throughout the match despite limited teams together. However, they didn't have an answer for the energy of their opponents. Billy Starks arrived to help, but Chris Statlander took her out and ran off the CO, allowing Harley to hit her finishing move for the victory. This was a great match and will stand tournament in good stead. It's possible no other match will quite meet this. A bold choice for Monet and Athena to go out so early, as they look like probably the favourites with so much credibility behind it. However, it feels like they found a team with Willow and Harley that they can really get behind. This will be a great pairing for the Sisters of Sin, and either team could conceivably win. Harley pinning Athena could also earn her a future shot, so that's interesting. 8 out of 10. And then we got the Hurt Syndicate and the Demand coming out for the when Tony Schiavone finally got his opportunity to talk about the National Championship, confirming a Casino Gauntlet for the new champ at Full Gear. He brought out the Hurt Syndicate, like I mentioned. The Demand then arrived where Ricochet promised he would win the gold. This was a fine segment to get the hype for a new championship. The Hurt Syndicate want the gold and Ricochet promised to take it. This is a better way to use rivalry than delivering any more trios matches between the groups. It does feel like a sudden to introduce another championship with so little in the women's division. It also just feels like it's just making up for the merging of the International Championship. This will serve as an International Championship replacement, hopefully clearly defined as that, and the best option would be to have it regularly defended in other promotions. Who will win? The roster's loaded, so I can see it going to anyone. As we then got another men's advantage match, Daniel Garcia bruised and beat down Darby Allin throughout their fight, but the Daredevil never gave up, reserving the Scorpion, the Dragon Death Slayer into the Scorpion Deathlock to force submission. Afterwards, the Death Rider struck, beating down Allin and the Conglomeration. Another strong match in this advantage series, helped by the personal story of these two. Red Death turned on the Daredevil first, made it a point for him to destroy him for Moxley. Allin got a degree of revenge while also making sure his team still had a chance to win the advantage with Blood and Guts. The Death Riders got a bit of momentum by taking down their rivals, and it still feels like they have a little chance to win Blood and Guts. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I thought this was good for what it was. As we then saw FDR call out Brody for a face-off, but it was revealed Stokely had locked Brody King and Bandido in their locker room. Dax and Cash mocked Bandido's family and began to brawl with his brother Gravity until Bandido got free and ran them off. This was a great way to build heat between these teams, playing off how much Bandido's family has sat ringside to support him. Dax especially showed that he truly has no respect for anyone, set himself up for a beatdown at the hands of Bandido in the coming weeks, maybe even Full Gear. The crowd gave this one good heat. Hopefully that he continues to sell Bandido and FTR as must-see as head of the match. Before we got the women's Blood and Guts advantage match, Megan Bain versus Mina. The Megasis threw around the Venus with ease throughout, but Mina stayed in the action as she prepared for the glamorous driver. Shafir checked out Timeless on commentary. The distraction allowed Bain to hit a jumping clothesline and Elijah Bomb for the win. Afterwards, the Triangle of Magnus struck, following by the rest of the Blood and Guts field. The faces stood tall in the end. It was a fun contest throughout, with a lot of out-ring action. Mina and Bain will likely never have matches together that are better with less distractions. The goal reached and fans got to see the whole Blood and Guts crew as a preview. It was a repetitive spot from the Death Riders Conglomeration Ball earlier, but I think it was made easier, and hopefully on Collision, 2 more advantage matches, it will deliver a more unique final height spot. As we then moved on to our main event, the Ops versus Hangman, Eddie Kingston and Hook for the Trios title. Warren Hook wanted this match more than anyone. He got hurt earlier. Hangman and Kingston kept fighting, but it got even worse when Hobbs sent the Cowboy through a table off the stage. The Ops beat down the Mad King, then an injured Handsome Devil only came back in to stop a torture rack from Powerhouse. From the second week in a row, Hook had tapped out. This is clearly becoming a story for the Handsome Devil. It nearly was impossible to tap out. It gave an extra weight to the results. Hook wanted this match more than any others. While Hook has long been the indomitable and aloof competitor, this gives him simply and could be a catalyst for him finally winning the gold. This also gave Joe a win over the Cowboy, who he's set to face in the coming weeks. The Ops are setting the stage for Joe to beat Hangman at Full Gear, creating a much more difficult second encounter between the champion and the challenger. A good bit of storytelling mixed with in-ring action, but the story itself will serve as a major spotlights and video packages for the future. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Overall, AEW Dynamite gets a 6 out of 10 from me. It was a signature Dynamite, building out stories and delivering action that furthered the stories. Multiple contenders and multiple matches were great. There was some stuff that maybe didn't land, but I think on the whole, we're building nicely towards Blood and Guts, and I thought, yeah, it was a pretty decent episode of TV. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.